In this case study, we talked to the founder of the email outreach company, Pranam Lipinski, about his success with scaling his agency in the last 4 years. We talk about how he went from working at a software company, trying multiple different avenues of trying to get customers, to finally landing on cold email, leading that software company to land multiple clients and actually end in a acquisition. He also talks about how he's been able to email the Fortune 500 list and book meetings with a dozen of the CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies. He's had a ton of success with cold email. Not only does he share his story of how he's using it, but he also adds some value on how you can have success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another case study. I am joined with my friend Pranam Lipinski, co-founder of email outreach company. Pranam, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Austin?
Doing well. Good to see you. Good to be seen with you. Thanks for sharing your story and sharing some value to people. So let's get right into it. Why don't you just give a quick intro of who you are, what you do, how long you've been doing it, all that fun stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I'm the co-founder of Email Outreach Company, and we've been with this company, building it, growing it, my co-founder and I, since about 3 years ago, and have been cold emailing for at least 10 years. Used it in a previous startup to get investors, to get our biggest customers, and to get acquired. And then, after that, we started Email Outreach Company and started doing this for founder friends of ours, and then just have slowly built it through cold outreach. More than half of our clients come from cold outreach. And so,
Nice.
yeah, we are a cold email agency, and yeah, we love to help businesses grow through cold email.
Nice. Love it. So basically, before you were doing a software company and then you were using cold email to get clients, and you're like, huh, I'm actually pretty good at this and this works pretty well. And then now you basically help other people do the same.
Exactly, and it's been an organic thing. Once we got out of the startup we were in, again, we got acquired through cold email. But some of our founder friends knew us as like, these guys are good at cold emailing. So a few of them asked us to help them with their cold email and their outbound,
Yeah.
and just slowly from there have been growing our customer base, and it's working. And again, we get more than half of our own clients through cold email, so we're always
Nice.
food in it.
That's good, man. Yeah. Most great businesses start with a co-founder or a founder with a really good skill set, which sounds like you have. Well, you've been in like the sales and marketing game for quite a bit. We were talking about like real estate development, and like you've been in just like that game for a while. What have you tried before when it comes to marketing? And then how did you finally land on cold email? Because there's about a billion different ways to get new clients. Like what was the appeal of cold email after like you being a really expert of sales marketing?
Yeah, great question, because there are so many options for marketing when you have a budget. You want to grow is obviously your goal, but how do you get there? You got to spend money on different channels, and then what's your best ROI per channel? How do you measure these things? And what we found is just that you can throw money at any social media channel, whatever you want to try. You can also do conferences, which we've done all of these things to the point where, okay, we have money to headline a conference or be a silver sponsor, and so let's try that. But the amount of time and energy and money that you spend versus what you actually get back, when you stack that up to cold email, to us, it was a no brainer. And I was mentioning to you before, Austin, that I've done it in real estate development down to like the old traditional newspapers, and what's the ROI of that? But in the end, you're just picking a marketing channel, and you try to figure out, how many leads am I getting? How much does each lead cost? And for us, cold email was by far the winner. And one of the amazing things too that I always talk about with cold email is that it puts you into the room with audiences that you could never reach through paid ads or even a VIP section at a conference.
Mm.
And one of the examples of that is, I emailed the Fortune 500 CEO list, and I talked to a dozen of them on the phone, and a few of them became clients in my previous software company. And that was through cold email. There's not a tool out there that some no name founder of a startup could be able to get into a room of a dozen Fortune 500s and convert a few into clients. So that's just
Yeah.
give you an idea of like the ROI of that is insane. But how can I even, from a numbers standpoint, I can match, all right, cold email is much better numbers wise compared to other channels. But what about even just impact? What about the social proof of those types of people that now associate with my company and us and our client base? ROI is like multi-layered of
Yeah.
what cold email can get. But even just from a numbers side, cold email stacks up better than any other from what we've seen.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like how you say the accessibility in how you relate it to a conference. Cause I mean, I'm sure you were the same way. It sounds like you were. I would go to these events, hope that I could meet a bunch of business owners. I'm not really sure if these guys are business owners, but I'm going to talk to a lot of people and hope that it's going to work. And then maybe that I can earn their trust. And if I have like a really good conversation and give them my business card and follow up with them, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And you spend your time and your money doing that. And then you also tried like the paid ads, and a lot of people are becoming more numb to it. And
Yeah.
like a same thing, kind of you're spreading a little bit of a wider net, hoping that you can catch the other ones. And the thing that I agree with you is the ability to be more pinpointed with the cold email and almost like guarantee you're getting in front of the person because the attention is on email. I don't know any CEO who doesn't check their emails. So yeah, that's a really cool analogy for sure. Well, okay, so a few years doing cold email, I think around 4+ is what you told me. No, more than 4, right?
Well, 10 in total when you
10.
stretch it back to our software stuff. But this company, 3, 4 years.
Yeah. So 10 years doing cold email. Like
Yep.
you're a vet. You're a vet in the cold email game. There's like obviously a lot of different tools that you could use for cold email. Things popping up left and right. A lot of different ways to email people. Tell us about your journey of landing on Instantly and why you've been loyal to Instantly. You've been using it to scale your business.
Yeah, when we first started, just like, if you're watching this and you're just getting going, and I speak to others in that early stage, I speak often with them, and I was there, and I was using it as, okay, I'm a solo user. I just want to get some results for myself, and that's where you're at when you first begin, and whatever tool you're using, you can probably make do with what features it's going to give you, and you're not going to have that much edge case where you've really got to think, okay, this tool doesn't provide basic cold emailing, so I'm going to ditch it. Well, as you scale, even just scaling to sending instead of 10, 20, 50, 100 emails a day, once you start getting to like 500, 1,000, if you start thinking about scale, these tools and their features and limitations just start to like narrow down, and
Hmm.
you end up with, okay, I've got a real problem. How do I just keep, instead of this thing narrowing down for me, how do I expand it? Because as you grow, you need something that's going to open the world for you, not close it down. And so, yeah, started out with just basic tools using HubSpot, and then went to Gmass. That's a tool you can hook on a Gmail. That was good. These are all good things for if I want to send a few hundred emails a day type
Sure.
of thing. But then when I started building a company and just people other than myself that were doing the cold email, and I was thinking about, okay, I need to organizationally start scaling, it becomes a product search for what's going to help me get there from a functional standpoint and from like the ease of everybody being able to be on one page with visibility and usability, to deliver results for the people that are counting on us, our clients. And so once we got to that level, like, okay, we got to send more than a few hundred emails a day, we looked around quite a bit and instantly caught our eye, and so we started using that, and we've been loyal users ever since. This is at least a couple years ago, and the trick, I think, also, and this is very underrated, Austin, and I'll bet you in your own entrepreneur uh, leadership and growth journey, you've also learned how to pick horses as well in the startup space. Like, there's a lot of startups that here today and gone tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But I have found, and this was from my own scars from my previous software startup, is like you actually have to find, when you're choosing vendors, you have to find vendors you can bet on for the future. You're picking a horse in a
Mhm.
race. And instantly, when we got to know their business development team, and like Felipe, he runs their business development. I'm sure you know him
Mhm.
well. And even just their co-founders sometimes reaching out on Slack, and just seeing all the ways they were thinking about the problems that cold emailers are faced with, and knowing that they're always looking around corners for us. That's a huge part of choosing the right tool, the right technology. It's more important than I would have ever thought if I didn't spend 6 years hard earned in software startup world. The founder and the leadership group, you have to pick the right one, and instantly does have the right one that sees around corners. So that's even part of it too. When we have a bad month, or maybe there was a bad feature, or we didn't figure out a certain feature or something like that, we don't just look at instantly and say we're bailing out of here. It's more that we have confidence that they'll figure it out for us, and they'll help us along the way. So that's one of the. It's funny. You go from user, then scaling your organization, and you need the right tool. But then even beyond that, when you get to scaling the organization to the point of which horse are you going to bet on to lead you to the promised land, that's just as important as all the other stages up to where we are now.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, just like picking the right vendor, especially at scale, because once you're deep into a software, the complexity of transitioning away because something happened that like is irreversible, or you pick the wrong horse, like if you want to use your analogy,
Mhm.
is a dent, like, and it's gonna cause a lot of headache, take a lot of capacity, which is something that we don't want to do. What are some specific examples of like maybe like of you picking the right horse? Like how is instantly affirmed that this is the right horse, just so people can understand, like, and kind of see in your perspective or scenarios.
Yeah, I'll give you three specific examples. One is the lead finder. The lead finder, a tool that, okay, verification of leads has taken all of the lead world by storm in terms of, we're talking about the lists. Instantly did a good job of, okay, we're going to get ahead of this, and we're going to make verification automatic. If an email doesn't verify for you, we're giving you the credit back. That's a great
Cool.
feature that every platform should have. That's
Hmm.
one. The next thing is that, like, the recently email service providers are critical. You can't really send to Outlook that much because Outlook went overboard with their restrictions. So instantly they automatically put in there that they've got email service provider checks, and if you want, you can actually just, right now you can opt out any email service provider that you want. You could take the Outlook out like right away. Uh,
Hmm.
the other one is that replying tools, like that, in order to reply well to every single email, we're doing 1,000+ replies a day. You need some assistance, and yeah, in terms of like technology, we have a team that handles it. However, Instantly has figured out that they can infuse some of their own AI into your replies
Hmm.
and make it just like much faster and much more well thought out. And just, even if they're just giving you a small draft of how to do
Hmm.
this, like, that's a huge time saver from our side. So those are like three specifics, some critical things. But then even beyond that, I'll add a bonus is the bounce protection and the health scores and the
Hmm.
warm up pools. Like, these are all, we could just lump those together of like deliverability. Instantly's done a good job to stay ahead of anytime there's shifts in these like deliverability problems. They have an additional layer that they're going to add to it. For example, when you have your health score, previously, like, everything was marked. They were doing a good job, and most people are just getting in their inboxes, but they've gotten a little bit stricter on what's marking a health score as high or low. And so we trust the Instantly health score much more than any other health score tool. And then with that too, we also understand that their warm up pool that they have running, they were building that for a while. And then there were times where they had some bad actors in there and whatnot. And it's like, we're not going to freak out about their warm up pool. Maybe for a day or two, there
Hmm.
were problems because there were changes in the industry or bad actors. instantly went and figured that out. So their warm up pool is nice and clean. Like,
Yeah.
they're all things that we would normally have to try to find another solution for. Or if we were with a leadership team or a founder team that didn't really see around these corners, we would have some problems. But
Totally.
luckily, thanks to Instantly, I kind of just sit back and have faith that they're going to figure it out if it's a big enough problem.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, couldn't agree more on just like the leadership and really they're scaling as you guys are scaling and just as the cold email software needs to be scaling. So also so you don't need 10 different softwares for everything and you can just do everything all in one.
Right.
Yeah. Cool, man. People watching this, like they maybe are going to try cold email for the first time. Maybe they're a little bit skeptical of using this channel for getting clients. Like, what are some cool, maybe like results that you've been able to provide for your clients or for yourself? I know you mentioned a few, just like 50% of your clients come from cold email. Anything else that stands out to you talking to the person who maybe feels like a little bit skeptical of using cold email?
Yeah, the one we're most proud of is helping a three-person startup land their first $1 million of business. And,
Wow.
that's not a small feat. It's like, going from nothing to something. Like, how do you turn something from off to on? And that's really hard to do. And if it wasn't for cold email, we wouldn't be able to make that possible. So just getting them the leads they needed to get their first $1 million of business, that's like borderline miraculous when it comes
Yeah.
to marketing in general, but just business. I mean, how many companies ever even get to $1 million of revenue? It's really hard. But to success for our clients, using Instantly and cold email in a way that gets them their first million,
It's
is just,
crazy.
it's
Just with cold email.
yes, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and we're proud of being able, like, once you do that once, you have the capacity to do it, and that's
Yeah.
why, like, from my side, I get excited about if we're gonna bring on a new client or someone's gonna have more faith in us, then it's just a great thing because we
Yeah.
can always improve for the next client and bring on more um, new $1 million or next tranche of $1 million business for the next client that's coming.
For sure. Love that. And then obviously 50% of your guys' business comes from cold email.
Yep. Yeah, more than
50%. Yeah. So for the people watching, it clearly works.
yeah.
So then for the people watching who are like, okay, how do I make this work? Like what's some advice that you could give somebody who is like, okay, I'm ready to jump in. How do I get started? How do I actually get the results that you've been able to get? Like what are some tips that you could give them?
From a basic side, the one that you get a little too ambitious up front, and you think like, okay, I heard somewhere that I can send 50 emails per inbox or even 30 emails per inbox per day, and I would just say, like, just start slow, send 10 emails per inbox per day, and just make that your like benchmark.
Hmm.
And like, I would just encourage you that accept that reality that you try to overdo it, because once you burn inboxes and you overdo it, you're going to end up having to start back at square one. So
Hmm.
first off, just like, come to grips with the fact that you can't send, a ton of emails per inbox. Okay, fine. But what does that mean? You just got to buy more inboxes. But I'm telling you that, like, you send a ton, and I've done this before. I've ruined thousands and thousands of inboxes. So I'm telling you, from wasting, tens of thousands of dollars. Like, just come to grips with that. Once you have that, then it's a matter of being able to get, the right sending schedules. Like, send from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday if you're sending for US. We do also send on weekends. I would say make sure that your lead list is accurate to what you're going to pitch. Like, yeah, it sounds great. I'm going to add every CEO I can, 100,000 CEOs to a list. But it's like, if you can just narrow it down to like the 1,000 CEOs that are going to make sense for your product, it's a virtuous cycle of, you hit the right person, they're going to be more likely to reply. If they're more likely to reply, your inbox score with Google and other providers is going to go up. Therefore, you're going to hit more people. then they're going to be more likely to reply. And it just keeps
Hmm.
going. So I would say like be a little bit more discerning on your list, and that as a reality as well, so you can keep your inbox scores high. And then write a really good first email, however you need to do it. AI, we pretty in depth with Clay, and we use other tools, but write a really good first email, and then don't the follow-ups. Just try to do a bump. Any thoughts on this? Thank you, that type of thing. Don't just try to think you have to go in and repitch
Hmm.
every flop. And then I would say follow up, every 2 days with the prospects, and ensure that you don't do more than three. I would say total emails in a sequence, max four, because it what I've found is it is a almost a self disciplining mechanism that forces you to come up with another fresh campaign to that list next time.
Yeah, love
and
it.
and just having that like as a measure or as a guardrail, you have to be constantly launching fresh campaigns. Don't think that you can just, because instantly it does give you functionality. We're going to do all these follow-ups, 15 follow-ups, and we're just going to let the thing run. But in reality, it gets stale. You got to reload. Things change, lists change, all that stuff. Just get fresh campaigns out the door.
Yeah, super solid. So you said be patient with your warm up. Like, don't go out the gate, send in 50 emails a day for the email. So be
Let's
patient. I mean,
on that, Austin, too. Of
yeah,
course, and I'm sure it instantly recommends, but like this goes without saying. Just 2 weeks of warm up. Like
yeah,
don't even think about anything prior to that.
yeah, because it's basically devastating and pointless if you don't do that. So like
Yep.
that's the first thing. Like, don't not warm up, and then when you are warmed up, don't blast them and burn them because
Yes.
you'll never be able to use them again.
Yep.
Is the first thing. With the lists, rather than saying and being eager, because like if you get your hands on 100,000 people, 100,000 CEOs, you're like, oh my gosh, 100,000 people that are going to potentially respond if with I get to 3% reply rate, blah blah blah. You start doing this mental math, and then instead of doing that, be more specific with the lists so that you
Mm-hmm.
increase your likelihood of getting a response, which will help with the email, help with your ultimately getting more leads rather than just blasting everybody the same message. I like what you said about the sequences. Write a really good first email and then
Yeah.
just bump off of those. Like I think
Yeah.
that's really solid, and that's like the opener. Like write a really good opener just to test
Mhm.
that out, and then after the third follow up, then create a new opener and then pull the people who didn't respond and then put them in that opener
Right.
and
Right.
kind of just recycle that. So super solid tips.
Yeah, it works. You can't.
Fundamentals.
Yeah, and you can't abuse it. These are like non-abusive behaviors. Like,
Yeah.
don't that you can just like somehow set it and forget it forever. Like,
Yeah.
you got to keep things fresh. You got to keep it moving. You got to keep it just constantly like good hygiene in emailing.
Yeah. Facts. Good stuff, man. Thank you, sir. Anything else to end with?
I would just say always look at your the you want to get to. If it's the opportunity you want to get to, like maybe you want to land $1 million deal, maybe you want to get in touch with a certain type of person, a billionaire or something like that. Never really never look at email as a non-viable ticket. And what I
Mm.
mean is just always try to send an email to your audience, send an email to the people you want to get to, a cold email specifically, because you'd be shocked at the doors that can open.
Mhm.
I mentioned about the Fortune 500 CEOs. Also, I've done it for billionaires, and I was also sharing with you, Austin, even when I was stuck overseas during the pandemic and I wanted to travel Europe, I cold emailed a bunch of embassies, asking them if I could come, and one of them said yes when they weren't accepting Americans, but found some loopholes. But just think about like never discredit email as a non-viable option for any type of result you're trying to get to.
Love it. Get you into other countries. Maybe you could just find your wife with cold email. You never know.
I don't know about that one, but
All right, man. Thank you again for this. Thanks for the value. Hopefully, the people watching are going to take some massive action on what you've been able to share. And then, of course, congrats on all the success. Thanks for being a user of Instantly, and we'll chat soon, man.
all right. Thanks a lot, Austin.